I walked into my mother-in-law's dining room just as the words left Alex's mouth. She secretly insulted the entire family behind their backs. The room went silent. 15 faces turned toward me, shock written across every single one. My husband, Owen, stood frozen near the fireplace, confusion clouding his features. My mother-in-law's expression shifted from surprise to fury in seconds. I felt my stomach drop, but I kept my voice steady. "What are you talking about?" I demanded, looking directly at Alec. My brother-in-law leaned back in his chair, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. He looked comfortable, almost pleased with himself. "Don't act innocent, Ilara," he said smoothly. "We all know what you said." The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Alec's sister pushed forward through the crowd, her phone extended toward me. "He has proof," she whispered. On her screen was a screenshot of text messages that supposedly came from my number, filled with terrible things about everyone in this room. I stared at the screenshot, my heart pounding. The messages were cruel, cutting remarks about my mother-in-law's cooking, my sister-in-law's parenting, even Owen's career choices. But something felt immediately wrong. The writing style wasn't mine. I never used that many exclamation points. I never called anyone by those specific nicknames. "This isn't from me," I said, my voice rising slightly. "Look at the way these are written. That's not how I text." Alex stood up slowly, shaking his head with what looked like genuine sadness. "I didn't want to expose you like this," he said to the room, not to me. I tried to handle it privately, but she kept going. Several relatives nodded, believing him. My throat tightened. Owen finally moved toward me, taking my hand. "Ilara wouldn't write these," he said quietly, but even he sounded uncertain. I looked back at the screenshot, studying it more carefully. Then I saw it. The timestamp on the messages. Something about it didn't match. The format was slightly off, the time zone indicator missing. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and opened my calendar app. "Look at this," I said, holding it up. These messages were supposedly sent last Tuesday at 2 in the afternoon. I was in a quarterly review meeting at work. My boss, 3 colleagues, all in the same room with me for 3 hours. I showed them the calendar entry, the meeting notes, even a photo someone had taken of our team during the session. The timestamp matched perfectly. For a moment, the room seemed to shift in my favor. Then Alex spoke again, his voice smooth as glass. "Maybe you sent them before the meeting," he suggested, shrugging casually. "Or during a bathroom break. People can be sneaky about these things." My mother-in-law nodded slowly, wanting to believe him. I felt the ground shifting beneath me again. But something else clicked in my mind as I watched Alex's face. The slight tension around his eyes. The way he kept glancing toward the door. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. He had prepared for my defense. He had responses ready. Whatever this was, it was bigger than one fake screenshot. The gathering broke up into smaller groups, people whispering in corners. I moved toward the kitchen, needing water, needing space to think. That's when I heard my cousins, Bree and Jade, talking in hushed voices near the pantry. "Did you hear what Alex said she called us?" Bree whispered. "Parasites. Can you believe that?" My blood ran cold. I hadn't heard that accusation in the dining room. This was something new, something spreading through the house like a virus. "When did he tell you that?" I interrupted, stepping into their conversation. Both women jumped. Jade looked guilty. "Just now," she admitted. "He pulled us aside while you were looking at your phone. He said you'd been talking about the whole family like we were parasites living off his success." The lie was so absurd it almost made me laugh. Except nobody was laughing. Bree touched my arm gently. "He also said something else, Ilara. He said he had proof you would crumble soon." Those were his exact words. Like he was waiting for something to happen to you. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to Owen, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand why Alec would do this. We'd never been close, But we'd never been enemies either. I kept our interactions polite, surface level, unremarkable. Then Owen's phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from his brother, checking if Owen was okay after tonight's revelations. I watched Owen type back, defending me, but doubt flickered in his responses. The next morning I started asking questions. Quiet questions. I called Owen's younger sister, Tess, who lived across the country. Has Alex seemed different lately? I asked carefully. Tess hesitated, then spoke. He lost a huge business deal about 2 months ago. A contract worth nearly $500,000. He was furious, blamed everyone around him. He paused. He specifically mentioned Owen. Said Owen gave him bad advice that ruined everything. The pieces started fitting together. Alex's resentment wasn't about me. It was about Owen. But attacking Owen directly would split the family. Attacking Owen's wife, though, that would isolate Owen, weaken him, hurt him indirectly. I was collateral damage in someone else's grudge. 3 days after the gathering, I was at my mother-in-law's house helping with laundry. She'd asked me to come over. Her voice strained on the phone, like she wanted to give me a chance to explain myself. I was folding towels in the laundry room when something caught my eye. A phone, tucked behind the detergent bottles on the shelf. Not a smartphone, an old flip phone, the kind people called burner phones. I picked it up, my hands trembling. The screen lit up. No password. I opened the messages folder. My breath stopped. Inside were draft messages. Dozens of them, all written in different styles. Some mimicked my texting patterns. Short sentences. Occasional emojis. Specific phrases I actually used. Alec had been practicing. He'd been studying how I communicated, learning my style, preparing to forge messages that would sound like me. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Heavy footsteps. I turned just as Alec appeared in the doorway. His eyes locking onto the phone in my hand. His expression shifted from surprise to something darker. "What are you doing with that?" he asked quietly. I held up the phone, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "What am I doing with it?" "What are you doing with it, Alec?" "These are practice messages. You've been learning how to write like me." Alec stepped into the laundry room, closing the door behind him. "You planted that phone," he said, his voice cold and certain. "You're trying to frame me because you know you're caught." The accusation was so bold, so unexpected, that for a moment I couldn't respond. He continued, his voice rising. "You've been spreading lies about this family for months. Now you're planting evidence to make me look like the bad guy. That's low, Ilara, even for you." He yanked open the laundry room door and called out, "Mom! Everyone! Come here now." Within seconds, the house filled with voices. Family members appeared from different rooms. Owen rushed in, his face pale. Alec pointed at me. His expression perfectly constructed as hurt and betrayal. "She planted a phone in your laundry room to frame me," he announced. "She's trying to make it look like I faked those messages." The room split. Half the family looked at me with suspicion. The other half looked uncertain, torn between us. Owen pulled me aside into the hallway. His voice low and urgent. "There's something you need to see," he whispered. "I didn't want to show you before because I wasn't sure what it meant, but now." He pulled out his phone and opened a video file. "Our home security camera caught this 3 weeks ago. I only found it yesterday when I was checking footage after someone mentioned they saw a car in our driveway that day." He pressed play. The video showed our front door. The timestamp read 3 weeks prior, midday, when we were both at work. The door opened. Alex stepped inside, looking around carefully, then disappeared into the house. The video ran for 7 more minutes before it cut to black. "The next hour is deleted," Owen said, his voice tight. "Someone erased it from the system. But they missed this first clip because it was saved in a backup folder." I stared at the screen. Alec had been in our house. He had access. He could have cloned my phone, copied my contacts, studied my messages, anything. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I asked. Owen looked miserable. I thought maybe he just stopped by to borrow something and forgot to mention it. I knew I needed an ally, someone who understood Alec better than anyone. I found Talia, Alec's wife, sitting alone in the backyard garden the next afternoon. She looked tired, shadows under her eyes, her hands wrapped around a cold cup of tea. I sat down beside her without asking permission. "Talia, I need your help," I said quietly. She didn't look at me. For a long moment she said nothing. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, "I can't or won't." Press gently. Her hands started shaking. The teacup rattled against the saucer. "You don't understand what he's like," she said, still not meeting my eyes. "He manipulates everyone. Anyone who crosses him, he destroys them. Completely. I've watched him do it to business partners, friends, even family members who got in his way." I felt a chill run down my spine. "He's doing it to me right now," I said. Talia finally looked at me, tears gathering in her eyes. "I know," she whispered. "And I'm so sorry. But if I help you, he'll come after me next." She swallowed hard. "There's a secret folder in his study. He keeps it locked, but I know where he hides the key. It's everything. All his plans." That night, Talia texted me a single word. "Now." Owen was working late. Alec was at a business dinner across town. Talia let me in through the back door of their house, her face pale in the dim light. "We have to be fast," she whispered. "He checks his security cameras remotely. I disabled them, but he'll notice if they're off too long." We moved quickly through the dark house to Alec's study. Talia retrieved a key from behind a framed photo of their wedding. Her hands shaking so badly I had to help her unlock the desk drawer. Inside was a black folder, thick with documents. I opened it carefully. My breath caught. The folder contained printed transcripts, dozens of them. Recordings Alec had made of himself practicing different stories. I saw my name on several pages, along with scripted emotional reactions, fake conversations, manufactured scenarios. He'd been rehearsing lies for weeks, maybe months. One page showed him practicing how to sound hurt when accusing me. Another showed him testing different ways to phrase his accusations for maximum impact. Then we heard it. Footsteps on the front porch. Key turning in the lock. Talia's eyes went wide with terror. We dove behind the heavy leather couch just as the study door opened. Through the gap beneath the furniture, I watched Alec's shoes cross the carpet. He moved to his desk, opened a different drawer, one we hadn't touched. I heard a metallic click, then the sound of something being pulled out. Talia's hand gripped mine so tightly it hurt. Alec stood there for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Then he spoke, his voice low, talking to himself. "Insurance policy," he muttered. "Everything I need to keep them in line." I risked lifting my head slightly, just enough to see through the gap between the couch cushions. Alec held a USB drive, turning it over in his fingers. The label read, "Insurance," in bold letters. He placed it back in the drawer, locked it, then left the study. We waited until we heard his car start in the driveway before moving. Talia rushed to the drawer, but I stopped her. "Wait," I whispered. I moved to the bookshelf on the opposite wall, running my fingers along the spines. Something Talia had said earlier echoed in my mind. "He keeps backups of everything." Behind a row of law books, my fingers found it. Another USB drive, identical to the first, same label. A duplicate. Alec's backup insurance policy. I took the duplicate drive home, my heart hammering the entire drive. Owen was already asleep when I arrived. I locked myself in our home office and plugged the drive into my laptop. The folders opened like a nightmare unfolding. Recordings. Dozens of audio files of private family conversations. Alec had been recording people for years. I found files of his father discussing financial troubles, his sister confessing marriage problems, cousins talking about their business struggles. Every conversation was a potential weapon. He wasn't just manipulating people. He was collecting ammunition. Then I saw it. A folder with my name. Ilara, final. My hand shook as I clicked it open. Inside was an audio file. Press play. My voice filled the speakers. Except I'd never said these words. The audio was spliced together from dozens of different recordings. My voice admitting to terrible things, confessing to lies I'd never told, saying horrible things about family members I actually loved. It was sophisticated editing. If someone didn't know better, they'd believe every word came from me. The file properties showed when it was created and when Alec planned to release it. Tonight. He was going to play this tonight at the family dinner we had scheduled. The timestamp on the file showed Alec had been planning this for 6 weeks. 6 weeks of recording me at family gatherings, cutting up my words, rearranging them into weapons. The file was labeled Final Confession, Release at Dinner. I scrolled through the other documents in the folder. There was a detailed plan, written in Alec's neat handwriting. Step 1 had been the text message screenshots. Step 2 was spreading rumors through family members. Step 3 was planting doubt in Owen's mind. Step 4 tonight was the audio confession. After tonight, according to his notes, I would be completely isolated. The family would cut me off. Owen would question everything about our marriage. Alec had even written predictions about how long it would take before Owen and I separated. 3 months maximum, he'd written. She'll crack under the pressure. Owen will see her differently. Everything falls apart. The cruelty of it took my breath away. This wasn't just about hurting Owen anymore. Alec had turned destroying me into a project, something he planned and executed with cold precision. I copied everything from the USB drive onto my computer, then made 3 more backup copies. Then I started making calls. I gathered everyone I could reach for an emergency family meeting the next morning at my mother-in-law's house. Not everyone came. Some people were tired of drama. But enough showed up, including Owen's parents, his siblings, several cousins. Owen stood beside me, finally fully on my side after I'd shown him the security footage and explained everything I'd found. I know what Alec's been doing, I started, my voice steadier than I felt. I have evidence of how he's been manipulating all of us. I showed them the burner phone screenshots, the practice messages. I explained the security footage of Alec in our house. Some faces shifted, doubt creeping in. But others, especially those closest to Alec, shook their heads. This could be fabricated, someone said. Then the front door slammed open. Alec stood in the entrance, his face flushed, a Bluetooth speaker clutched in his hand. Don't listen to her, he said, his voice cutting through the room. She's been planning this. Trying to turn you all against me because she knows she's caught. He raised the speaker. I have proof. Real proof. Her actual voice confessing to everything. My stomach dropped. He was doing it now, ahead of schedule, because I'd forced his hand. Alec pressed play. My voice filled the room. I've been lying to all of you for months, the audio said in my voice. I think this family is pathetic. I married Owen for his money. I've been using all of you. The words kept coming, each one worse than the last. People gasped. My mother-in-law's face went pale. Owen's father stood up. His expression a mixture of shock and disgust. I felt the room turning against me. Felt the careful plan I'd built starting to crumble. The audio continued, my voice saying things I'd never even thought, let alone spoken aloud. Then Talia stood up. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor. Every eye turned to her. I know how he made that, she said, her voice shaking but clear. Alec's face went white. Talia, sit down, he said, his voice low and dangerous. No, she said louder now. I'm done protecting you. She turned to the room. My husband uses voice cloning apps. He records people, then cuts up their words and rearranges them to say whatever he wants. I've watched him do it dozens of times. The room erupted. People started talking over each other. Alec took a step toward Talia, but Owen moved between them. Talia pulled a crumpled piece of paper from her pocket with shaking hands. Everything is under this password, she said, reading from the paper. It's his cloud storage. Every recording, every plan, every manipulation. It's all there. She handed me the paper. The password was a combination of numbers and letters, written in Talia's desperate handwriting. Alec lunged toward her, but Owen and his brother caught him. "You're making a mistake," Alec hissed at Talia. "You have no idea what you're doing." Talia met his eyes, tears streaming down her face. "I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm finally stopping you." I pulled out my laptop, my hand surprisingly steady now. The room crowded around as I entered Alec's cloud storage credentials. The screen loaded. Folders appeared. Dozens of them. Years of content. I clicked on the first folder. Inside were recordings of conversations with business partners, audio files of Alec practicing different lies, notes on how to manipulate specific people. The dates went back 5 years. "He's been doing this for years," someone whispered. I clicked another folder. This one contained financial records, screenshots of bank transfers, evidence of money being moved around. Then I saw the folder labeled, "The Real Reason." My hand hovered over it for a moment before I clicked. The Real Reason folder opened to reveal spreadsheets and bank statements. I scanned them quickly, my accounting background making the numbers jump out at me. Alec had been stealing from the family trust. Not small amounts. Hundreds of thousands of dollars over the past 3 years, moved through shell companies, disguised as business investments and consulting fees. He'd used the trust fund that his grandfather had set up for the entire family as his personal bank account. I scrolled to the bottom of one document. There was a note written by Alec dated 2 months ago. "If Owen figures it out, if anyone figures it out, I'll lose everything. The family will press charges. I'll go to prison. Need to discredit Owen first, make them doubt him. If his wife talks, I'll destroy her first." There it was. The real motive. He'd been stealing from his own family, and when Owen started asking questions about the trust fund distributions, Alec had panicked. Destroying me was his preemptive strike. I looked up at the room. Everyone was reading the screen over my shoulder, faces shifting from confusion to anger to horror. Owen's father stood frozen, staring at the numbers. "My father's trust," he whispered. "He stole from my father's trust." Alec tried to run. He shoved past 2 cousins and bolted for the door, but Owen's brothers were faster. They caught him in the driveway, holding him firmly as he struggled. "Let me go," he shouted. "This is all lies. She fabricated everything." But the numbers didn't lie. The recordings didn't lie. His own words, in his own voice, talking about his plans, his manipulations, his theft. We brought him back inside. The family formed a circle around him, everyone standing now, anger and betrayal written on every face. My mother-in-law sat down heavily in her chair, looking like she'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. "How could you?" she whispered. Alec's composure finally cracked. "You don't understand," he said, his voice rising desperately. "The business was failing. I needed capital. The trust fund was just sitting there. Grandfather would have wanted me to use it to save the company. Grandfather left that trust for all of us," Owen's sister said coldly. "For our children's education. For emergencies. Not for your failed investments." I opened the final folder on the cloud storage. It was labeled simply, "Emergency Contingency." Inside were more files, more schemes, other people Alec had manipulated or planned to manipulate. His web of lies extended beyond the family. Owen's father took control of the situation. "We're calling a full family meeting," he announced, his voice hard. "Everyone. Tonight. No exceptions." Alec realized what was happening. His eyes darted around the room, looking for escape routes, for allies, for anything. He found nothing but angry faces. "You can't do this," he said. "I'm family. You stopped being family the moment you started stealing from us," Owen's mother said, her voice cold as ice. That night the house filled with people. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone who had stake in the family trust. Everyone who Alec had stolen from. I set up my laptop on the dining table, connected it to the television screen. Owen stood beside me, his hand on my shoulder. Alex sat in the corner, Talia on the opposite side of the room. She wouldn't look at him. "Before we begin," I said to the assembled family, "I want to be clear. I didn't want to expose this. I wanted to defend myself against lies. But what I found goes much deeper." I opened the first folder. Showed them the voice recordings, the manipulations, the practice sessions. People's faces shifted from skepticism to shock as they recognized Alex's voice admitting to his schemes. I showed them everything. The fake text messages from the burner phone. The voice cloning software files. The recordings of private conversations he'd weaponized. The security footage of him breaking into our house. And finally the financial records. The theft. The embezzlement. The years of lies. The room erupted in angry voices, people shouting questions, accusations flying. Alec tried several times to interrupt, to explain, but each attempt only made things worse. "Let me show you one more thing," I said, raising my voice over the chaos. I played a video file I'd found in his cloud storage. It was Alec, recording himself in his study, practicing the exact speech he'd given that first night when he accused me in front of everyone. He rehearsed his facial expressions, his tone of voice, the timing of his pauses. He practiced looking hurt, looking betrayed, looking like the victim. "She'll never see it coming," he said to the camera in the video. "By the time she realizes what's happening, everyone will already believe I'm the one who was wronged." Then he smiled, and the smile was nothing like the face he showed the family. It was cold, calculating, proud of his own cruelty. The room fell silent watching this. Even those who defended Alec looked sick. Alec finally snapped. "Fine," he shouted, standing abruptly. "You want the truth. Yes, I took money from the trust. Yes, I planned to discredit Ilara. But you know what? I did it because this family is full of weak people who don't understand how the real world works." His face flushed red. Owen got opportunities one never got. Everyone always preferred him. The golden son who could do no wrong. Well, I was tired of being second best. He pointed at me. And her. She was so easy to manipulate. So trusting. So naive. It would have worked perfectly if Talia hadn't betrayed me. Talia stood up slowly. "I didn't betray you," she said quietly. "I stopped you. There's a difference." She turned to the family. "There's more. Things even Ilara doesn't know yet." She pulled out her phone and displayed a folder of her own. "I've been keeping records for 2 years. Every time Alec manipulated someone, every lie he told, I documented it. I was too scared to come forward alone, but now..." She showed them messages where Alec had manipulated his own father into signing documents, recordings where he'd lied to investors, evidence of him setting up other family members to take blame for his failures. He even manipulated his father into giving him power of attorney last year, Talia revealed. Owen's father stood up, his face ashen. "Is that true?" he asked Alec directly. "Did you manipulate me into signing over power of attorney?" Alec's confident facade completely crumbled. He stammered, contradicted himself, tried to reshape the narrative. But every word he said only dug the hole deeper. It wasn't manipulation. You were stressed about the business. I was helping. You wanted me to handle things. I wanted help with paperwork, his father said, his voice shaking with rage. Not for you to steal from the family trust fund using my authority. The room watched as Alec fell apart. His lies tangled together. He accused Talia of lying, then admitted to things she'd accused him of. He claimed he was protecting the family, then revealed he'd planned to blame his sister for the missing money if anyone discovered it. Every attempt to save himself only exposed more truth. Finally, Owen's mother stood up. "We're done," she said simply. "We're voting. Right now." She looked around the room. All in favor of removing Alec from the trust, banning him from family properties, and pursuing legal action for the theft? Every hand rose. Every single one. even some of Alec's friends who'd attended the gathering. The vote was unanimous. I stepped forward, pulling out a USB drive from my pocket. "There's one more thing," I said. "The security footage from our house. The original, unedited version." I plugged the drive into the laptop. The video played on the television screen. It showed Alec entering our house, but this time the footage continued. The deleted hour was there, restored from a backup I'd had professionally recovered. The video showed Alec moving through our house, opening my laptop, connecting a device to clone my phone, photographing documents, even practicing my signature on a notepad he'd brought. He'd spent nearly an hour invading our privacy, stealing our information, preparing his attack. The final clip showed him rehearsing how he'd announce his accusations at the family gathering, speaking to his phone's camera, perfecting his performance. "You were right to doubt yourself," he said to the camera in the video. "By the time I'm done, nobody will believe anything you say." The video ended. The room stayed silent for a long moment. Then Owen's father spoke. "Get out," he said to Alec. "Get out of this house. Get out of our lives." Two of Owen's cousins escorted Alec to the door. He didn't fight, didn't argue anymore. He walked out into the night, completely defeated, humiliated. Suppose. The next morning, the family held another meeting without Alec. Lawyers were present this time. Owen's father formally removed Alec from the trust, filed a police report for embezzlement, and obtained a restraining order. The family voted to support Talia through the difficult process ahead. She decided to file for divorce, and several family members offered her places to stay, financial support, legal help. "You're still family," Owen's mother told her. "What Alec did isn't your fault." Over the following weeks, the full extent of Alec's manipulations came to light. The business deal he'd lost wasn't bad luck or bad advice from Owen. Alec had sabotaged it himself by stealing from the investors, then blamed Owen to cover his tracks. Other families came forward with similar stories. People Alec had manipulated in business, friends he'd betrayed. The pattern was undeniable. Owen's father established new safeguards on the family trust, requiring multiple signatures and third-party oversight. The money Alec had stolen was partly recovered through liquidating his assets. It wasn't everything, but it was something. Through it all, I waited for someone to apologize to me, to acknowledge how quickly they'd believed Alec's lies, how readily they doubted me. Some did, quietly, with embarrassed faces. Others stayed silent, unable to admit their mistake. The family gathering that followed, 2 months after everything had settled, felt different. Lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted from the entire group. But I knew things had changed permanently. I stood in my mother-in-law's kitchen, helping prepare dinner, when she finally approached me. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. "We should have trusted you. We should have questioned Alec's accusations instead of accepting them." I nodded slowly. "Yes," I said simply. "You should have." I didn't soften it, didn't make it easier for her. She needed to hear it. "I'm staying," I continued. "But things are going to be different. I won't be anyone's scapegoat again. If someone has a problem with me, they bring it to me directly. No more whispered rumors. No more believing lies without evidence." Owen's mother nodded, accepting my terms. One by one, other family members approached me throughout the evening with similar apologies. I accepted them all but didn't forget. Trust once broken takes time to rebuild. Later, Talia found me on the back porch. "Thank you," she said, tears in her eyes. "For believing me. For helping me find the courage to stop him." I hugged her tightly. "You stopped him," I said. "I just provided the platform." As I drove home with Owen that night, watching the city lights blur past the window, I felt something settle inside me. Not the naive peace of before, when I'd trusted too easily. This was different. This was the peace of someone who'd fought back, who'd stood their ground, who'd demanded truth even when lies were easier. I'd won without becoming cruel. I'd exposed evil without becoming evil. And somehow, that victory meant more than any revenge ever could. The truth had won. And I'd survived to tell it.